Congressman Tom Price is chairman of the House Republican Policy Committee. He visited the Heritage Foundation for our bloggers briefing and is here to chat about his health care legislation. Congressman, thank you.
Thanks so much, Robert. Great to be back with you.
Great to have you here. Now, you recently wrote on Big Government that Obamacare violates every single principle in health care. What do you mean?
Well, if you think about the principles that you hold dear or the folks watching this hold dear, they fit into different categories. I define 6 of them. They're affordability. You got to have a system that's affordable for folks. Accessibility. You got to have a system that gets folks into the system. Quality. The highest quality of care needs to be ensured. And then responsiveness and innovation, 2 things that we don't oftentimes talk about, but the system's no good if it doesn't respond to people or is responsive to individuals. And then innovation, which has allowed us to have the highest quality health care in the world. And then finally, choices. American people want to be able to select who treats them, where they're treated, how they're treated, and when. If you think about those things, accessibility, affordability, quality, responsiveness, innovation, and choices, the bill that was passed, that the President supported, and that the previous Congress passed and signed into law, violates every single one of those.
Are you satisfied with the steps that the House Republicans have taken this year to repeal Obamacare and block its implementation?
Well, as you know, and the folks watching this know, we voted to repeal the President's health care legislation very early in this Congress. Now, if I had my druthers, we'd vote to repeal it every single week. But the fact of the matter is, we voted to repeal all of the legislation, and that at every single turn where we have an opportunity, understanding that this is divided government, we have done what we could do to be able to turn back the clock on his piece of legislation. In fact, this final week, hopefully this final week of this Congress, we will even do more to decrease the funding that's available for things like the IRS agents to force Obamacare down people's throats.
And then you have your legislation.
Yes.
What would it do, and how would it put patients more in control of their own health care decisions as opposed to government?
Our bill, what we call the Empowering Patients First Act, H.R. 3000, recognizes those principles, affordability, accessibility, quality, responsiveness, innovation, and choices, and says we can solve the challenges that we've got by recognizing and embracing those principles. What we do is make it so that every single American has the opportunity to have health coverage that he or she wants and selects, not that the government wants for them. Not a mandate, but providing the financial wherewithal to make it so that every single American has the opportunity to have health coverage. Secondly, you've got to address the insurance challenges because the status quo right now is unacceptable. So you've got to address the issue of pre-existing illnesses and injuries. You ought not be priced out of the market if you have an awful diagnosis or an awful injury. And then portability. You ought not lose your insurance if you change your job or you lose your job. There are wonderful principled solutions to those by allowing individuals, Americans, to pool together with millions of other Americans. So you get the purchasing power of millions, so that regardless of your diagnosis or your health status, you can always afford it.
And do you see an opportunity or a vehicle in order to move that through the House?
Well, at some point, it will become, hopefully, the last man standing, as it were. The Supreme Court is going to rule on the constitutionality of the President's piece of legislation. I believe they will rule it to be unconstitutional. Regardless of what they do, however, the status quo is unacceptable, and it can't work. It doesn't work from a financial standpoint for the country. It doesn't work for America's seniors who are going to have $500 billion pulled out of the Medicare program, and an unelected board of bureaucrats, the Independent Payment Advisory Board, put in place to deny care to seniors. That's its sole purpose, is to deny payment for care to seniors. Those things don't work for the American people. So we believe, again, that if we keep putting out there these positive solutions, that at some point the American people will recognize that there are positive solutions, and Congress will say, hey, look, we can solve this challenge with something that results in patient-centered care, not government-centered care.
Now, so many freshmen came into Congress this year passionate about health care and Obamacare. That's what motivated many to run. How would you rate their performance? How have they changed or impacted the House this year, these freshmen?
I'd give them an A+. The understanding that we're a majority in the House, but a minority in Washington with the Democrat-led Senate and President Obama. But what the 89 freshmen have done is change the entire dynamic here in Washington. We're now talking about, and the country is talking about, where to reduce spending, where to increase government efficiencies, where to decrease the size and scope and reach of government. The damage that the president has done with his regulatory oppression across the country. And none of that would have happened to the degree that it has without those 89 new freshman members of the House of Representatives on the Republican side of the aisle. So they've given new life to conservative principles. They've given new life to a responsible government and to individual liberty and freedom.